Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Gandiva Danvo Paratarir Aste Alakshito Yakcharakuta Gudho Maya Kirato Girishash Tutosha Kachid Yashoda Ratayuta Panam Gandiva Danvo Gandiva Danvo Paratarir Aste Alakshito Yakcharakuta Gudho Maya Kirato Girishashtutosha
Yashoda Rata Utapanam
Kachit Yashoda Ratayutapanam
Gandiva Danvo Paratarar Gandiva Danvo Paratariraste
Gandiva Tarir Aste
Alakshito Yacharakuta Gudho
Alakshito Yakcharakuta Gudho
Maya Kirato Girishastutosha
Maya Kirato Girishashtutosha
Kachit Yashodharata Yutapanam
Kachit Yashoda Ratayutapanam
Gandiva Danvo Paracharirasti
Gandiva Danvo Paratarirashte
Alakshito Yacharakuta Gudho
Lakshito Yakcharakuta Gudho
Maya Kirato Girishastutosha
Maya Kirato Girishashtutosha Kachit Yashoda Ratayutapanam Gandiva Danvo Paratarir Aste Alakshito Yakcharakuta Gudho Kachit whether Yashoda famous Ratayutapanam amongst the great chariot warriors Gandiva Gandiva Danva Danva Bo Uparata Arihi one who has vanquished the enemies Aste doing well Alakshitaha without being identified yet who Sharakutagudaha being covered by arrows Maya Kirataha false hunter Girishaha Lord Shiva Tutosha was satisfied. Please tell me whether Arjuna, whose bow bears the name Gandiva, and who is always famous amongst the chariot warriors for vanquishing his enemies, is doing well. He once satisfied Lord Shiva by covering him with arrows when Shiva came as an unidentified false hunter. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Shiva tested Arjuna's strength by picking a quarrel with him over a hunted boar. He confronted Arjuna in the false dress of a hunter, and Arjuna covered him with arrows until Lord Shiva was satisfied with Arjuna's fighting. He offered Arjuna the Pashupati weapon and blessed him. Here Vidura inquired about the great warrior's well-being. Maharaj, would you like to speak on this?
Oh, Krishna is described here as Yashadha. Oh, that's Arjuna. Because he's a great warrior. Rata means chariot, and Utapanam. So that's Arjuna is known as a great warrior among chariot warriors. There's many types of martial arts. The science of martial warfare is very extensively presented in the Vedic literatures. And of all the types of fighting, those who are able to fight on chariots while riding a chariot, using all the weapons, they're the best. The other types of fighting, for example, there's fighting with fists. That's considered to be the least. If one is accomplishing that, of course, he's recognized among that in that field. But so the Kshatriyas were trained in all these different types of fighting. They had to learn everything. Arjuna excelled in all aspects. The physical hand-to-hand fighting, excellent. Club fighting, he was excellent. Then they have to be able to sword fighting. For example, the twins, Nakul and Sade, they were expert in sword fighting. And Yudhishthira was excellent in the spear. He's an excellent fighter in the spear. And Bhima was a very excellent fighter with the club. There were three great club fighters at that time. Balaram was considered the best. Halayuddha. He was also the trainer, the teacher of Bhima. Bhima was a great club fighter. Instructed Bhima and also Duryodhana. Duryodhana was a great student also of the club. And Arjuna, or Balaram, at the end of the Battle of Kurukshetra, after everything was practically finished, there was still Bhima and Duryodhana. And somehow or other, as you know, the battle ended by having Ashwatthama kill the sleeping sons of Draupadi. And then And at that point, Duryodhana went in hiding. He hid himself by his mystic power in the water. He could stay underwater. But someone had seen him and told Yudhishthira Maharaj, so they went to find him. And they got him to come out by speaking to him, challenged him to come out. He couldn't get away so easily. But Duryodhana was still courageous, willing to fight with all of them. And he said, I will fight with any of you, or all of you, when I come out. So Yudhishthira said, you can choose any one of us to fight. And then he said, if any one of you, if you defeat any one of us, you can have the kingdom again. He had a tendency to like gambling. And I think it was Krishna told him, why did you put it's a big risk? Because everyone knows that Duryodhana is an expert club fighter. And he may choose one or the other. Because he could have chosen any of the five and fought with him at any weapon he wanted. So it was extremely liberal by Yudhishthira to do that. But Duryodhana has some Kshatriya spirit. He said, I won't fight with these others, I'll fight with Bhima. Only Bhima. So they fought. And at that time, Balaram came. Balaram missed the whole battle. He knew what was going to happen, and he knew both dynasties would be finished, and he just couldn't participate. So he came back on the day that they were fighting, and both of them offered their obeisances to him as their teacher. So Balaram said, there's no use fighting, because Bhima has more powerful physical strength than Duryodhana, but Duryodhana is more expert in the moves. His technique is superior. So neither one of you will win. But they couldn't listen to him because they were too angry. As we heard yesterday, Bhima, has he let out his cobra-like anger, poison? He was keeping it for so long. He had to wait all those years, and this was it. It was Duryodhana who did that, who ordered that Draupadi should be insulted. So this was it. They couldn't stop. So but Arjuna was actually great in all these weapons. He especially, he was known as the chariot driver or the carrier of the bond. He was an archer, what they call it, archer. What's the other word for it? Shoots with the bow and arrow. Yeah, archer. So the only one who was equal to Arjuna was Karna. Karna was considered equal. Krishna told that if anyone, there's only two people who can win the hand of Draupadi, because that test that King Drupad had arranged, they had to shoot the eye of the fish over the top of the arena, and had looked down at the reflection in a basin of water and shoot up. Krishna's only two people who can do that. Karna or Arjuna, better not let Karna compete. He told her. So Draupadi took she's a great devotee of Krishna. She took that and she said, just before Karna it was his turn to come up, and she made this statement, either directly or through her brother, Drishadumna, that she will not accept anyone who's not from I won't accept anyone that's born in the lower caste. And Karna was considered born in the lower caste. So he was eliminated. He couldn't compete. She wouldn't accept it. So he was angry. And anyway, Arjuna did do it. And so he won the hand of Draupadi. So he was the topmost chariot fighter. You see sometimes in the Battle of Kurukshetra, and Mahabharata describes, where one fighter will be fighting, shooting with a bow on the chariot, and the other opponent will cut his bowstring. They could do that. They were so expert. They could shoot the bowstring. And then sometimes he would take another bow. They had many bows. They had many backup bows. And so sometimes it would cut like 5 or 10 bows. And then they would they would explode the chariot, shoot the chariot so it fell apart. Then the fighter would be on the ground. And he didn't stop fighting. But no good warrior, really chivalrous warrior, would fight with someone when they're on the ground, if they're on their chariot. This happened once between Samba and Bhishma. They were fighting and Bhishma lost his chariot. Samba had broken his chariot. And Samba said, wait, I'll give you another chariot. And Bhishma was furious. You don't have to give me a chariot, I'll fight like this. So Bhishma wouldn't take any charity from Samba. When Kshatriya doesn't take charity. He wins things by his power, not by charity. Brahmins can accept charity, but Kshatriyas can't accept charity. They say, you don't give me anything, you don't give me this kingdom, we'll fight for the kingdom. That's what would happen. So Arjuna is known as a great chariot fighter, carrier of Gandiva. Gandiva, there's a bow. There's 3 bows, if I'm not mistaken. One was the Gandiva, and one was the one that Kamsa had. He was worshipping that bow. It was a bow of Lord Shiva. And he had many warriors there to protect it. And Krishna, as you know, when he went into Mathura, Krishna immediately went to where the bow was. This is supposed to be the great sacrifice of the bow. That's what Kamsa was advertising. This is going to be the great bow sacrifice. And Krishna went and broke the bow. And Kamsa had been foretold that when the bow is broken, that means very soon you're going to be killed, and by the person who broke the bow. So there was another confirmation that Krishna was there, and soon he would die at the hands of Krishna.
Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapanantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Dhanavirga Swami Niti Namine, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desatarine, Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim, Yad Kripa Tadaham Vande Sri Gurum Dinatarinam, Bhagisha Yashavadane Lakshmir Yasha Chavakshasi Yashaste Hriday Samvit Tam Nirsimha Maham Bhaje Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Please tell me whether Arjuna, whose bow bears the name Gandiva, and who is always famous amongst the chariot warriors for vanquishing his enemies, is doing well. He once satisfied Lord Shiva by covering him with arrows when Shiva came as an unidentified false hunter. So Arjuna got into this fight with Lord Shiva, who was testing him. Lord Shiva was disguised as this hunter, and we hear this is how Arjuna won the Pashupati weapon. It's a very interesting battle in the Mahabharata, and Shiva, disguised as this hunter, was fighting Arjuna, and Arjuna could destroy. Could I have that? Arjuna could destroy anybody, so it was surprising that this hunter is. It was surprising that this hunter is so powerful that he's almost crushing Arjuna. How is this possible? And then, after covering him with arrows, he understood this is Lord Shiva, who was satisfied and gave him the Pashupati weapon, Lord Shiva's own weapon. So Arjuna was so powerful and such a famous fighter that he received weapons from all the great demigods. They all bestowed their personal weapons upon him. These weapons were effulgent, they were very destructive, and like this, he was able to conquer the whole universe because he was so powerful and he had the blessings from all of these great souls, specifically in the form of their weapons. And we hear the way that he pleased Lord Shiva was by covering him with arrows. So Arjuna, he's a pure devotee of Krishna. So at first it might sound odd that, okay, this is what a pure devotee is doing. He's covering somebody else with arrows from a bow. It means he's angry. He's aggressively shooting these arrows from a bow. It's very violent. It's painful. He's a pure devotee, so it might seem like, well, wait a second. Shouldn't he be a little more humble? Why is he shooting all these arrows? He looks quite ferocious. A devotee or a saintly person, shouldn't he be very calm and peaceful and kind and loving? What's he doing covering someone with arrows? So you see, this is how he actually satisfied Lord Shiva and got this weapon to do his service for Krishna. And we also, like we were hearing about Bhima, another pure devotee of Krishna, he said, who was it? He said, I will rip Dushashana's heart out of his chest and drink his blood. And then he did it on the battlefield. After defeating Dushashana, he charged over to him, ripped his chest open, and I think there's some of the Mahabharata say he ate his heart. And the one that we have from Krishna Dharma Prabhu says he picked up his blood, foamed up in his chest, and Bhima scooped it up and drank it. And he said, this is more delicious than my mother's milk. This is more delicious than this, than that. It's sweeter than this and that. And everyone on the battlefield is just terrified. They just see him with blood dripping down his face and his chest, and he's saying these things. They're just like, we're done for. So this is a pure devotee. Madhavacharya, that's Bhima in more recent times. So how is this? It seems contradictory. Shouldn't he just be tolerant like a tree? Humble like a blade of grass? Doesn't seem very humble to rip someone's chest open or to cover somebody with arrows. But Krishna also says the devotee, sadhu, even if he performs the most abominable activity, he's to be considered a saintly person. Why? Because he's fixed on his goal is correct. He's determined that let me serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by serving Krishna, everyone else is satisfied. And the idea of just giving up all emotions and all different types of activities in order to become spiritually realized, this is more of an impersonalist idea, or the Mayavadis. There's just one mood, one emotion, everything's all one. But the devotees, they're utilizing everything in the service of Krishna. So this is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, also in that verse that's talking about how even if one commits the most abominable activity, if they're a devotee, if they're fixed on service to Krishna, they're still considered saintly. So anger is also used in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as we're seeing Arjuna used it here when he covered Lord Shiva with arrows. And he's being glorified for this in the Bhagavatam. And Vidura, another saintly person, he's happy to inquire, as we're hearing in the end of the purport, Vidura inquired about the great warrior's well-being. So he's happy to hear about this person and inquire about them. He didn't say, oh, no, that person is angry and ferocious. He's not very saintly. I don't want to hear that topic. But actually, everything belongs to Krishna. Everything's coming from Krishna, and everything is meant for Krishna's enjoyment. So the devotee, he engages everything in the service of Krishna. He doesn't leave anything out. So even his anger can be used in Krishna's service. And we hear in the Nectar of Instruction that anger can be used against the demons who blaspheme the devotees of the Lord and who blaspheme the Lord himself. So like this, the devotee can become very angry and use that to defeat the nonsense arguments of those who blaspheme the Lord, or the Mayavadis who say that the Lord has no brain, no senses, no arms, dumb, deaf, and blind. They can use their anger in defeating all these bogus arguments of the Mayavadis and impersonalists who want to kill the Lord, just like some of these demons that we hear about wanted to. So that's one way that the devotee's anger is used in the service of the Lord. And we see many examples of this too. I guess my favorite example, I think it's a favorite of many people because we hear it in many places. Famous example. There was that Pandal program where there's thousands of very respectable people in India, all sorts of big leaders, everybody. And so all these people are in the Pandal program, and Srila Prabhupada, he's going to have this big discourse to this huge crowd where there's many big leaders, the heads of different organizations and things, respectable persons. And he's speaking on how Bhagavad Gita should be understood and how it should be learned, that it should be pariprashnena sevaya, one should surrender unto the bona fide spiritual master, render service unto him, and inquire from him submissively, and thus he can impart the truth to you, because he has seen the truth. So he was speaking on this, and he called just a random hippie up to the stage all of a sudden. People were wondering, why is he calling this hippie onto the stage? So he calls this fired up hippie onto the stage. And this hippie guy, he starts saying, what is it? What was he saying? Like, how old is the Bhagavad Gita? Because you were saying that the Bhagavad Gita is from thousands of years ago, but many people say that the Bhagavad Gita was actually written recently. And Srila Prabhupada asked him, does anyone remember what Prabhupada asked him? He asked him a question back. I don't remember the question, but Srila Prabhupada asked him a question back, and the boy was saying, no, I asked you first. How old was the Bhagavad Gita and this and that? And then Srila Prabhupada, like this, they got into this loud argument. Srila Prabhupada is actually yelling at this hippie on the stage. He's saying, I don't have to answer your question. You have to answer my question. And he's like this, they're yelling back and forth. I don't have to answer your question. I'm not your servant, I'm Krishna's servant. They're yelling. And many people started to become disturbed, and many people also left the Pandal program, and the devotees are wondering, like, what is happening? And so the people were becoming disturbed because they're thinking, this is supposed to be a saintly person, this is supposed to be a devotee, and he's becoming angry. And some of these leaders are saying, oh no, this is not good, this is very bad, Swamiji is becoming angry. And so like this, people with a mundane conception of life, they're not able to see the pure devotee of the Lord or see Krishna when he appears. Avajananti mamudha manusham tanam ashrit. No, that's not it. But those who are fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They don't know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be, Krishna explains. So those with a mundane conception, they can't see the pure devotee. They can't understand him. They can't even see or understand Krishna. Atashri Krishna namadi nabhaved grayam indriyai sevan mukhehi jivado swayam evasparatida. The materially contaminated senses, they can't understand the absolute truth, something that's totally beyond these material senses. They can't grasp it. But unto one who engages in his service, to the devotee, the absolute truth is revealed because he agrees to reveal himself. So many people with a mundane conception, they were confused, thinking, this person's supposed to be saintly, peaceful, calm, sweet. He's getting angry. What is this? And they're leaving the pandal and everything. And when we read about this, I don't remember where it was. Maybe it's in the Lilamrita, but somewhere it's explained, and some of the devotees, they all give their perspectives on it. And some of the devotees were explaining how some of them were saying they were confused at first, but then they understood that Srila Prabhupada, why is he doing this? He could have not brought this random hippie up to the stage all of a sudden, but he's doing it on purpose. He's showing how the Bhagavad Gita should be understood. And he's showing how the Bhagavad Gita should be understood, that it's understood submissively, from submissive hearing and inquiry to the spiritual master, not in a challenging spirit that I know better, you tell me this. So he demonstrated this with this hippie, and in this moment he was engaging his anger in the service of Krishna, and like that it's actually perfect. So Arjuna, he's also engaging his anger in the service of Krishna and fighting, shooting these deadly arrows very ferociously from his bow. Bhima, he's shattering the thighs of Duryodhana in the service of Krishna. And these are pure devotees, so everything can be engaged in the service of the Lord. Okay, that was all the time that we have. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.